Okay, welcome to the first episode of Aspiring Writers Panel. I'm your host, Abby Goldsmith, and we have some guests here, which is Sherry Peters, Brian Rappatta, Autumn Rachel Dryden, and myself. Our first topic for this show is, why isn't your novel published? A common question that we all face as writers. I know that I've heard that quite a number of times over the years, and I have different answers. I think all of us here have different answers. Okay, so I guess, first of all, have you all faced that question? Like, is that something that you all think that you've dealt with before? You can just jump right in.
Yes, actually, usually the question is, so what have you got published?
Yes, I've gotten that one a lot as well. Yeah, and then you say, well, nothing that you can buy for yet.
Nothing yet.
But I've written a bunch of novels.
And funny enough, in the general public, directing people to a bunch of short stories isn't seem to, have quite the same allure. So, as having published a novel.
Yeah, I do the same thing. I'll say, oh, I have some short stories, and they'll be like, oh, okay.
And you get the crestfallen look.
So,
I feel that the main reason that my novels aren't published is because they are not ready for primetime players. And I'm a bit of a perfectionist, and I feel like I don't want to put my name on something that I'm not proud of. And the novel that I started writing first is incredibly ambitious and has been part of my heart since I was like 13 when I first got the idea for the world, and then I started getting the idea for the characters when I was 18, and so I'm wrapping this all together and spending years of my life thinking about this. And then it turns out that I really didn't have the skill level that I needed to actually put on the page what I saw in my head, and that was very disappointing and frustrating for me. So I spent years writing draft after draft after draft, and after the fourth from-scratch draft, I finally said, okay, I'm going to move on and work on other things and then come back to this when I've grown as a writer.
And are you going to? I mean, is it still on your back burner?
Yes. In fact, I had an editor ask me about it last week, that he wanted to see it anyway, and I'm like, okay, but I'm not proud of it. So we'll see if anything happens.
Oh, wow, yeah, I can totally relate to that. I've had one that I've been working on for 10 years. It's a series, and that's what I'll be talking about because that's most of the novels I've written.
You guys bring up interesting points, is because I think a lot of the times, one of the reasons we're not published is because we psych ourselves out, or we're tinkerers, and we want to go back and tinker with a little bit in the novel or one of our projects, and we just psych ourselves out from submitting it, because it's not quite done in our minds, even though it may be perfectly ready to be sent out. We want to do that little bit more work or that one more extra polish. We tinker ourselves out of submission.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, I know I've done that with mine. So I was going to move on to, let's see, how many novels have each of us written, and how many of those are unpublished? Probably an embarrassing question for some. I know Brian has written a lot of novels. He's like, yeah.
How many, Brian?
Yeah, how many?
It's a hard question to answer because I'm not sure exactly. If you count all the ones in progress, it's somewhere around 11.
Or at least some ending of.
In some stage of completion, and that's where I come up with a number that's 11.
Wow.
What about Sherry?
I am just starting novel number 7. And I can tell you the history of them all. The first one was a really good first draft. Actually, it had some interest, but decided not to go with it. The second one was never meant to be seen by people. The third one was my first try at a fantasy ever, and it was the most cliche thing you've ever read. And that one actually had 4 iterations, each one getting worse than the next. Number 4 got me an agent. Number 5, the agent is sending out to editors right now. So it's not published because the editors haven't read it yet, I like to say. Number 6 is the sequel to number 5. And while I'm waiting for number 5 to get picked up, I decided to work on something completely different. So I just started number 7 about a week ago.
Oh, good for you. That's great. Yeah. I mean, I hope that you get an editor to read it.
Yes. Me too. You know, you keep reading all their blog posts or whatever and how busy they're on, like, well, I wish their authors would just leave them alone so they have time to read my stuff. Because I know that it's just that they're just so busy. They don't have time to read most of the time. You know, one editor's had it for 6 months, and that's pretty good, even considering that I have an agent. And, I mean, she hasn't got to it yet. So, you know, it's totally within still, you know, decent time frame, apparently, as impatient as I am. And one just got it recently. So I know that they're super busy, but still, it's like, stop bothering them. Let them have time to read.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's great that you have been working on other novels so that
Yes.
you have other stuff to shop around. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what about you, Autumn? How many?
I'm working on my second. That first one was 4 complete drafts from start to finish, each one like 60, 70,000 words. And several of them were NaNoWriMo novels because I used the same novel a couple different years in a row. But I started it new each time because I kept thinking that this time I would fix all the problems. And that's how I learned that I'm not a pantser, honestly, because I kept sitting down thinking that it would just come to me as I was writing and that the problems would solve themselves. And that didn't happen. So for this novel, I went to a workshop called $1 Million Outline, taught by David Farland. And I had a group of people help me brainstorm my outline so that I could fix all those main problems before I sat down to write the chapters. Now I'm working on it, and the issues that I'm having are mainly research-based and a little bit voice-based because it's a very ambitious historical fantasy novel blending a lot of fairy tales with 1500s Germany. And so I'm trying to make sure that I don't get it wrong. So it's got a whole host of new problems that the other novel didn't have, which was science fantasy, where I got to make up all my own world. So it's a treat.
That's just the problem with every novel. They always have their own set of problems, don't they?
Yes.
Yeah. I have one standalone, 4 novels in a series, so I can't sell the 3 novels until the first one sells. The standalone I consider shelved. I don't like it. I wrote it when I was starting out, and I'll have to rewrite it at some point in my life. I also wrote 2 novels as a kid, which I'm not going to count. So, but if you did count them, I'd say I finished 7. 3 of them totally unpublishable. So the 4 in the series are the ones I want to see published and I think are publishable, and I have to sell the first one. So
Are you sending it out?
no, I'm rewriting it yet again.
I'm going to get on my high horse right now because I attended Odyssey, the writing workshop, as did you, Abby, I believe the year before me.
Yeah.
And one thing Jean said to me, because I hadn't been submitting anything but when I got to Odyssey pretty much, and she said, well, you know, they can't buy it if you don't send it out to them. So it's worth sending it out, just starting to query. Just start the query process to agents. It'll take forever to get one. It took me 3 years to get one. So
Well,
it's totally worth getting started. So
Yeah, no, I do agree with that, but I've been through the query process before, and like I've gone through cycles with this novel where I was like, it's ready, it's totally ready, I'm gonna send it out now, and I actually did get some agents and editors to read it. I did get a rather unfortunate rejection from Tor Books. That was the last round, and it was read by an editor there that's pretty well known, so I was depressed by that. And I also got a pretty major agent to read it a few years ago, and she was interested in it, but she never really got back to me. It was one of those. Anyway, I'm going to go through the round again, but I think what it is I don't feel quite comfortable with the beginning. I never have. So I'm giving it one more try. I'm basically saying I'm going to try to get it done by October, which is in a couple weeks.
yes.
Yeah. And yeah, just have that, and then I'll send it out and start writing book 5 in the series.